Good day, everyone. Jonathan here for our Fish Fact Friday, Sea Creature Friday. And today we're going to be exploring the playful but built for both land and sea lives of the seal. So, these are some of the world's most beloved animals that we have out there. Whether you're seeing them basking on the rocks, gliding gracefully underwater, or hanging out on the beaches, or just hanging out at the water surface with their big eyes just sitting there, their head slightly out of the water, staring back at you and everything. So let's talk a little bit then about how you're going to be able to identify them, where you might find seals, size, lifespan, their diet, everything like that, and some fun facts. Today we are just going to kind of be talking generalization about seals, as there's over 30 different species of seals out there, and we'll be discussing the different seals in general a little bit. So, overall, seals come from a group of animals called the pinnipeds, and basically what that means is fin-footed. So, as we know, all seals have little fins up front. They got their tail fins in the back for you, and everything. So they do come in a variety of species, different markings, and everything. They can range in color from a silver gray to a brown to even a kind of a spotted pattern that you may see out there. And it's dependent on where they live to give them the different camouflage. A lot of times, though, when you're seeing the seals and stuff, if you get to see them when swimming, they have a very streamlined torpedo-like body out there, and that makes them the excellent swimmers. Also, their their short fin or fur coats give them perfect colorings in out there, and really helps with everything. So, one of the easiest ways to determine a seal from like something like a sea lion is that they're kind of earless. Sea lions typically have like an external flap over their ears, whereas the seals don't. They have small ear holes right on their sides. Typically, their front fins are short, and the rear ones are backwards, and so that gives them that propulsion and everything. However, that makes them a little bit clumsy on land when they're trying to move. And so you might see them where they're going to be waddling around on land, or you may see the videos where they're kind of bouncing on their stomach as they're going through land to get places and everything. However, once they do hit the water, they're completely at home. They're sleek, agile, very mobile, very speedy out there. And their hind flippers, fins, act kind of like underwater propellers. Where might you find sea lions? Well, these guys are going to be found all over the world, from icy poles to the temperate coastlines, all the way even in the tropical waters. So, harbor seals are typically found around North America, Asia, and Europe. So, we'll see a lot of harbor seals when we go up and dive up in like Puget Sound or everything. And everything. The gray seal lives in the North Atlantic, while like the wattle and the leopard seals are what you'll typically see down in the icy flows down in the Antarctic area. And then a couple of seals that you may see in the tropical waters, that'd be like the Hawaiian monk seal or the Mediterranean monk seal. Really prefer those warm waters and everything. However, both of those seals, which is really sad, is that they're both endangered species. So we do want to keep them around. They're very cool seals to be able to see, and very rare to be able to see, especially if you're diving in Hawaii or something. Most seals do live close to shore. They do belly up onto the beaches, rocks, or ice. That way they can rest, breed, and raise their babies that way. They're perfectly adapted to the cold water environments with their thick layer of blubber that keeps them warm and provides them energy during long dives or fasting periods, and everything. The species of seals generally have a big range of sizes, but the small species like the ring seal will grow somewhere between 4 and 5 feet in length and weigh only about 150 pounds, whereas you'll get the southern elephant seal can be upwards of somewhere 20 feet in length and weigh 8,000 pounds. So those guys are huge. However, most of the seal species do fall right in that middle range, 5 to 7 feet, and anywhere between 200 and 400 pounds out there. In perfect conditions and everything, you'll see the seals will live up to 30 years in the wild. However, this really depends on their environment, the predators around, and even their food supply in those areas. So, speaking of their food supply, seals are carnivores. They typically eat fish, squid, crustaceans, and sometimes even penguins and smaller seals. Those are typically, those would be like the leopard seals will eat the penguins because they're going to be down in Antarctica with them and everything. They are excellent hunters, and they have very sensitive whiskers. These whiskers are called vibrissae, and that helps detect slight vibrations in the water from their prey. So even in sandy or murky depths, that can really help them out there. It kind of allows them to be like radars detecting the wake of the fish as they're swimming around and everything. Something that's really cool and I just learned is that seals can dive to hundreds of feet depth and can hold their breath between 20 and 40 minutes. However, there are some seals like the wattle seal, sorry, not the wattle, the Weddell seal, can dive to depths of over 2,000 feet and can stay submerged for about an hour or more. These are solitary hunters, so they'll go out and hunt by themselves and everything. And then when they're out of the water, you're going to see them on the shorelines in their colonies, or rookeries is another word that you may hear for that. So they hunt solitarily, but when they're back on land, they're very social. And, you know, you'll hear them barking, snorting, even kind of play fighting to help establish dominance when they're out there to bond with their other seals. So some other fun facts is obviously baby seals, they're called pups out there, and they're born with a soft, fluffy fur that helps keep them warm until their blubber really develops out there. As I mentioned, they're really good divers, and when they do dive, what they can do is they can slow down their heart rate to 1/10 of its normal rate while diving, and this is helping conserve their oxygen so that they can stay down underwater longer to hunt, go check out stuff, go check out that diver over somewhere, make fun of them and everything. Another fun fact is seals can actually sleep underwater, and they don't have to worry about not breathing enough, because as soon as they need air, they automatically surface back up to the surface and breathe without waking up. So that's kind of fun that, you know, they can just be in the water sleeping, and all of a sudden they'll rise, get their breath, and away they go. And they won't even wake up for that. Some species like the leopard seals are apex predators, because that's like where they're hunting, like the penguins and stuff like that. However, like the harbor seals, which we see in North America, are going to be more prey. They're going to be there, and that's what the orcas go for, and the sharks and stuff, and everything. They are vocal, especially during breeding season, and they can have a growl or a bark, or they can even sing underwater, and each sound has a different meaning for them out there. So it's kind of their own language for them. The elephant seal is named for its trunk-like nose, which males use to make loud roaring calls that can be heard over a mile away. So that's pretty loud out there. Despite living in cold places, seals can overheat pretty easily on land. So that's why you'll see them a lot of times just roll back into the water, or you'll see them kind of splat and lay out really flat and spread the flippers out to release heat so that they don't overheat. And then one other fun fact is that seals, they can recognize humans, especially their voices and faces. So if you go to the same site and you keep saying the same seal over and over and over, it may start to recognize you. And so then seals have been known to respond to divers that they see regularly. So who knows? Maybe you might become best friends one day with a seal out there. So all in all, again, you're going to be seeing these guys from many of the icy Arctics up through the tropics, up through the temperate zones and everything, seeing them on the beaches, the rocks, and everything. So next time you see one resting on a rock or bobbing there at the surface, take a moment, think about and really appreciate how amazing these animals are. That concludes today's presentation. As always, if you have a species of fish, animal in the water that you'd like me to cover, leave me a note. I would love to hear them. That way we can cover some other animals that you guys may be interested in. Again, if you missed anything before, you can always find and catch up on the episodes back on our YouTube page. Hope you guys have a good day, and I hope to see you in the water soon. Bye.